All right, hey, y'all. As I promised, I'm going to go over some of these rates and locations, population, good versus bad, inbound versus outbound freight rates. Okay. First off, you will not get the same rate going and coming in every direction. Just to keep it at home, I'm from Baltimore. Let's say you're in Baltimore, you want to go to New York, Connecticut, anywhere in the Northeast. If you leave here, Baltimore, Pennsylvania, Delaware, wherever, and go north, if you get 1,200, 1,600, 1,800, 2,000, you may only get 800, 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 if you're lucky coming back. If you leave in Baltimore going to Florida, you may get 3,000, 3,500. Luck up and get 4,000. You may only get 2,000, 2,200, 1,800 coming back if you get lucky. Or you may have to deadhead up into Georgia somewhere and get the same rate that you would have got coming from out of here, but saving fuel. That's because of supply and demand. The more something you have, the less it's worth. When you get down to Florida, there's a dead end. There's no other direction to go but up and over, which means there's more trucks trying to go up. What does that mean? According to the law of supply and demand, there's more trucks. It means they're worth less because you have more of something. That's why a bottle of water only costs $1, even though you can't live without it. But diamonds cost more because they're rare. Same thing in the Northeast. People don't look at it like this, but you need to look at it geographically. When you get up into the Northeast, this is a dead end. The only direction you can come is down or over, which means these loads would typically pay less coming back down. Leaving Maryland, so you got your inbound and your outbound freight rates, or how I like to put it, fuel and profit. If I'm leaving Baltimore going to New York, I make my profit going. I make my fuel money coming back. Why? It's 300 and some odd dollars to go up. Miles to go up. So let's say I got a 700-mile round trip. I may only spend $500 to $700 in diesel. Let's X out the tolls because tolls vary depending on which state you're going to over here. And we're just using this for the sake of example because all states don't have tolls. But just using fuel, say I spend $700 on the round trip and I made, what, $1,500 to go up. Let's say, hypothetically, I only make $500 coming back, which, you'll make more. That's a $200 round trip. It'll take you a night to get up, a day to get back. You could do that in 24 hours or 2 business days, which would mean, what, out of that, what we just had, 2,000, you're taking $700 out of there, and you're still coming out with $1,300. Now let's use a real life example with real numbers. Let's say I leave Maryland and go up to the Northeast and I get $1,800, right? And I come back and I get $700. These can be real numbers. So what, we had $2,500? Okay, let's say I spend $700 in diesel going up and coming, and let's say I spend another $300 in tolls. So we talking about $1,000 coming out of $2,500, which would mean I profited $1,500 in 2 days. That's not always the case, but it happens. The point I'm getting at is the direction of traffic. You make your profit going to the Northeast. You make your fuel coming. When you leave in Maryland and you're going to Chicago, you make your fuel money going. You may only get $1,200, $1,400, $1,800, $2,000 to go over to Chicago, Ohio, Indiana. But coming back, you may get $2,500, $3,000. So the loads you took that looked like it was a bad load going actually paid for your expenses for the complete round trip, which makes that $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 coming back 100% profit. Same thing going down to Atlanta, or going down to Florida. But I don't want to get too specific because I'm going off the top of the head, and freight rates fluctuate. The point I'm trying to get at, some places you make your profit going, some places you make your fuel going. Your inbound and your outbound rate is not going to be the same. You want to look at both loads together, calculate your miles, and do your expenses. Another thing with dead spots. So we know Florida, we know the Northeast. When you get over in these mountainous areas, the population is less. And what does that mean? They pay more for you to go there. The same way, like, let me tap back into my core audience, my street guys. A bag of reefer may only cost $10 on the street, but it'll cost you $50 in the joint. A pack of cigarettes may cost you $10 on the street. It may pay $200 once you bust it down in the joint, but that's the lure to get you there. Then when you get over here, after you done took that decent load going to any of these states, you got to take a bullshit looking load. But if you look at it correctly, you'll add the two loads together, calculate your total miles and your total gross for both loads together, then subtract your expenses and see what you made at the end of the week. Also, these states, some of these flat places, or some of these places going across the barriers, a lot of these mountains have train tunnels that go through them. When you get in these areas, aside from the population being less, which means there's less transactions, because we live in America. America is a capitalistic society, which is based off of commerce, buying and selling. The less people you have, the less things you have being bought and sold. As I talked to y'all in a previous video, all merchandise after it's bought or sold, has to get shipped, and it has to touch a truck at some point. But you have trains over here. A lot of trains take 100, 150 loads. My brother counted when he was with me when we was running teams. So not only are you in competition with the low population, you're also in competition with the trains going through those mountains, which can pull multiple loads as opposed to you pulling one. So when you get down into Florida, don't look at it like it's a bad load. When you get up in Maine, don't look at it like it's a bad load. When you get up in these mountainous, mid-mountainous areas, which I call it, don't look at them like they bad loads. Calculate what you made going and what you made coming. Then do your numbers based off of the full turn. Some of these lanes, like I talked about earlier, Baltimore to New York, Baltimore to Chicago, Baltimore to Atlanta, Baltimore to Florida, and then you have Baltimore to Texas, Houston, and specifically Houston and Dallas are at an even kill. You pretty much get you get more to go and a little less to come, but they're not far off. But let's say I was living in Houston. Houston to Memphis is a lane. You make your money going, you get your fuel coming back. Houston to the Austin, San Antonio area is a lane, back and forth. Houston to Denver is a lane. Maryland to Denver is a lane also. When I talk about a lane, that means any place that you can go and consistently come right back. If I was living in LA to Las Vegas, LA to Denver, LA to Oakland, or the Portland, Seattle, Washington area is a lane. So you can either come over, do a quick bounce, you can go over through the mountains, come back, you can go up to the Bay Area, or you can go up to the top Northwestern and come right back. That's a lane. Also, when you get into these dry spots where the loads are paying less, a trick you can use is to triangle the load. So if you say you over in Colorado, you left Maryland and got 4,000 to come back, the load's only paying 2,500 to go all the way back. Well, who says you have to go all the way back? You could take a short hop over to Chicago, or over to Texas, or over to Ohio, break the trip up, and then get a decent paying load, which is in your profit area coming back. Or your inbound, your outbound, or as I call it, your fuel and your profit. You over here, you take a quick load over here or down here, then you in the profit lane. You get your profit coming back. You broke up the fuel coming, by taking a shorter load as opposed to taking the whole entire hit. Also, sometimes you're going to take a less paying load because you're trying to go somewhere. Okay, I set out to see every single major city in the country, and travel and have fun. I've been to Alaska, and I just knocked out Hawaii. So I've completed my mission. There were times where I took loads that were not favorable just because I wanted to go somewhere. I may have had a friend there that I wanted to go see. I ain't seen that in a minute. I may have had a specific activity that I wanted to do. So these are all factors that come into play. But the main thing to keep in mind is your inbound, your outbound freight rates. You gotta add both loads together, or you run it to the end of the week. You calculate your total miles, fuel costs, tolls, your fixed cost of operation, owning the truck, your insurance, truck note, things of that nature, and your variable cost, which is your maintenance, and you deduct it. If you bringing in $4,000 to $7,000 profit per week after grossing $8,000 to $12,000 a week, you in the sweet spot. Trucking is not going to make you a millionaire. I don't claim it does. That's why my book is called Hood Rich, not Get Rich. It'll afford you a nice, comfortable living space, car your choice. You'll be able to dress how you want to, travel, look out for people, and have some pocket change on the side. But as far as you owning one truck and getting rich, that's not going to happen. You'll make a few $100,000 a year, and you can deduct your expenses out of that, and leave you a chunk beside, and you can invest it or give it away, whichever is your fancy. But till next time, I want y'all to keep that in mind. Inbound, outbound freight rates. You don't get the same money going as you get coming. Add the two together, then subtract your expenses. Then you come up with your net. If you're falling in that $4,000 to $7,000 net profit per week after paying for your truck repairs, fuel, tolls, insurance, then you in the money. Don't fall for these guys selling you these high expectations that are unrealistic. They're trying to sell you books, courses, and seminars so they can get rich off of you and not rich off of trucking. So till next time, stay tuned, peace, and don't mind my mat. This thing been worn and torn. I'm out here using this joint. So till next time, peace.